A beautiful spring day in Durham as we welcome you to Old Spice College Lacrosse. A real good one for you today. An ACC battle featuring two top 10 teams. Number 8 Duke welcoming in the number 7 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Bagpipes marching in for an ACC Classic. All 5 teams in the conference right now ranked in the top 20. Duke, they were 8-1, rolling right along as them bottom of the ACC. Blue Devils in much need of a win, looking for it here at home as we welcome you into what will be a terrific lacrosse game. Miles Jones, Paul Carcaterra, Jay Alter with you. Miles, this won't be easy. You've played against Notre Dame. You know how tough this rivalry is, and they have a stud in the midfield for the Irish, Brian Costabile. He's been a monster.
Yeah, Brian Costa's been a monster all year. You know, he can stretch your defense and he can beat you off the dodge, which makes him super dangerous for opposing defenses. His last week, performance, 5 goals against the Syracuse Orangemen, uplifted his team in a close game. You look at his ability to stretch the field, his ability to beat you off the dodge, and he's dangerous all over the field, earning him the ACC Player of the Week against Syracuse Orange.
5 goals against the Orange last week in a win for Notre Dame. And Cart, you look at Duke, the last 2 games they've struggled in ACC play. Who are the 2 guys that need to step up and match a guy like Costabile?
It's their 2 stars, the senior Brad Smith and the sophomore Joe Robertson, combined for only 3 goals in those 2 losses. Brad Smith needs to get aggressive like that mustache. He is a natural midfielder, has had to play attack this season. I wouldn't be surprised if John Danowski gives him some runs at the midfield to get him comfortable. Joe Robertson, his calling card is off ball and finding seams in the defense with that 10-yard shot with the right hand.
I know you trim hair. You ever trim a mustache?
No.
Duke in white and blue. Notre Dame in that golden navy. Fighting Irish 5-3, but 3 of those 5 wins against top 10 opponents, looking for another top 10 win today on the road in Durham. And we are underway in this top 10 ACC battle. Coach John Danowski was adamant in our pregame talk with him that they need to be better on the wings. He feels like that has lacked in the last 2 weeks.
And when you watch Notre Dame for years under Kevin Corrigan, the face-off battle is not a one-on-one matchup. He gets the entire field involved, really puts pressure on the initial draw win for the opposition. You need to fight and scrap until you get the ball in the offensive possession.
And for Kevin Corrigan, trying a new player in goal, Jack Zulo, the junior from Chaminade, making his first career start. Coming in for the sophomore Matt Schmidt. Duke's first offensive possession. Here's Brad Smith, who had 0 goals, 0 assists last week. Feeding inside, and it leads to a goal. Joe Robertson, right on cue. Paul Carcaterra just said he needs to step up, and the sophomore nets a goal a minute in.
Mentioned in the open, it's the right hand. It's from about 8 to 10 yards and anticipating where the seams are. That's what Joe Robertson can do. I think from a complimentary standpoint, he's one of the better attackmen in college lacrosse because he feeds off his teammates' initial dodging. This is great offense. Montgomery understands ball rotation and the little hitch to get the angle, Miles.
Yeah, it looks like Brad drags this slide across the field, throws it back to Montgomery, who understands that the defense is sliding upfield, throwing it to the open man to make that play there.
And with that goal, the sophomore has tallied 100 career points in a Blue Devil uniform. Brian Smith, the junior Fogo for the Blue Devils, wins it. So back-to-back opening possessions for this Duke team.
And look who's back at the midfield.
Brad Smith. He was an All-American in the midfield as a junior in his senior season, had to move to attack, and Coach John Danowski moving him back where he's more comfortable in midfield. You love that move.
I love that move. I think, Miles, you love that move too. You saw on the first possession, he gets that hockey assist. That's where he's comfortable. That's his comfort zone.
Yeah, playing in front of the cage for midfielders is definitely their comfort place. You're able to see the goal, you're able to see the other 5 players on your team moving, and it makes it much easier to then direct the offense.
Duke has had all the possession in this game so far. Ten seconds left on the shot clock. Brad Smith, the double team comes. Duke running out of time. 5 on the timer. Ball's on the grass, scooped up, but not enough time.
This Notre Dame defense, under Jerry Burns' tutelage, thrives off of late shot clock type scenarios. You just feel the energy, and when it gets under 10, it's a different ball game for them. I mean, that's what they aspire to do, to put teams in really weak spots. But it's the initial approach to the defense, too. You got to fight and scrap in those early stages of the possession to be rewarded.
Turner upgraded goal for Duke. This is a Notre Dame offense that scored 13 goals a week ago against Syracuse. That first half, you could argue, one of the best first halves we've seen in all of college lacrosse.
When you're up 11-2, I mean, the end of the game was a little closer than they would have liked.
There's the answer. Connor Morin camping out on the doorstep, and we're tied at 1. And this time, Kark, it was Costabile feeding.
It was. And Miles, take me through the progression of this play with Costabile, because he's known as a shooter and a dodger, but not this time.
Yeah, so we talked about this in the open, how Costabile is dangerous off the sweep. He gets to the middle of the field, which is a danger zone for the defense. All 5 defenders looking at him. They take advantage of ball watching and get an opportune spot for a goal there.
They're ball watching because they know from a dodging standpoint that is the guy who is on the top of the scouting report. 26 in blue, top midfielder in college lacrosse. When he has the ball up top, he's going to the rack. Well, when he adds that dimension to his game as a passer, pick your poison.
Showing why he is emerging as the best midfielder in the entire country. When you can score 5 goals in a game and come back and immediately on that first possession drop a dime like that. Brian Smith with all 3 face-off wins against Charles Leonard so far this afternoon. It's led to a lot of Duke possession in the early going. Brad Smith, who's back to midfield, where he was an All-American a year ago. 27 in white, just feels more comfortable there. We asked after he was 0-0 last week against North Carolina, is that foot that he had surgery on giving him problems? Coach Danowski told us, no, foot's fine. It's just hasn't really adjusted to attack like we thought he would.
And how easy is that? The kid's played midfield his whole life.
Right.
I mean, if he's going to play attack his senior year, not everyone's Ned Crotty who can switch and be a chameleon year in and year out.
So it's Smith, who that time off the pipe almost snuck it past Zullo.
Couple things you should look at today with the new goaltender, Jack Zullo. Matt Schmidt was a goalie who thrived off of a quick top hand. He had an explosive top hand, but oftentimes would be out of position. Jack Zullo is a bigger goalie. His hands aren't as quick, but he takes up more of the cage because I think he has better body positioning, especially on the midfielders who are dodging and sweeping. He gives them little angle.
Why do you think Coach Corrigan made the switch?
I don't blame any coach for making a switch when your goaltender's under 50%. I mean, you need a spark. It's a defense that always brings it. You want 50% goaltending if you're Notre Dame. Your defense is that good. That's all you're asking for.
Flags on the field, so this is a free possession for Notre Dame. Swing it over to Brendan Gleason, the lone senior on this Irish attack. Goes right into the teeth of that Duke defense. And now we'll get our penalty.
Looked like a push on Duke. See the call right here? Yeah, that's a push right on the back. Doing time, 30 seconds. Extra man for the Irish. 40%. It's about average. That's where you want to be. Anything over 40% is good stuff.
Here's Wheaton Jacoboyce over the Costabile. Can't give him space. Quick pass. Nobody home. Brian Willits, it hit him right in the chest, and Duke can come away with it and kill this extra man opportunity. Oh no, they give it right away. That's the one thing that will drive a coach crazy. When you're trying to kill an extra man, you give it right back to the opponent. Yeah, and it'll drive an offensive coach crazy on a basic transfer from Costabile to Willits, and you drop the ball. So look at this extra man for Notre Dame. 26 in blue, and you've got 9 in blue too. That's Costabile and Gleason. Costabile with the right, Gleason with the left. That stretches the defense, gives inside opportunities for guys like Willits. Quinn McCann, a freshman who's emerged on this first line midfield. He has 7 goals. Over the Costabile. Great save. Turner Upgren stepping up to deny Costabile. It'll stay with Notre Dame, though. That's what you get when you have a midfielder with a cannon like Costabile. The defense will overextend on you, and then it opens up the dodge, Miles.
Smart play by number 26, understanding how the defense is covering him, knowing that he possesses that big shot. Defense is really overzealous to come out and play the ball, using that to his advantage.
Connor Moore, he's got the Irish's lone goal. Dangerous from behind the cage at X. That time it bounces into the side netting. John Pendergast completes the clear himself after Duke was sloppy on the last transfer. Kai Montgomery, great save by Zullo. Jack Zullo making his first career start, steps up. That's a great save on Kai Montgomery. He swallowed that pill. If you look at Jack Zullo, he takes up a lot of the cage. There's not a lot to shoot at there, Miles.
Yeah, he's playing his angles very well, especially with a midfielder dodging downhill. You don't have to necessarily crash the pipe. If you just turn your body a quarter bit, it gives the shooter a lot less room to look at.
Both of these teams so talented defensively. It'll be a war to see which offense can find the holes. Found a hole there, and Notre Dame, Nick Stinn, the senior, fires the Irish in front.
Notre Dame goal scored by number 12, Nick Stinn, assisted by number 22, Connor Moore.
You want offense? I'll give you offense, but it starts with defense. Kai Montgomery gets the look he wants, but Jack Zullo making his first start for the Irish follows it up. Stinn delivers. We got a good one cooking in Durham.
Old Spice College Lacrosse is brought to you by Old Spice. Men have skin too, you know. And Cigna. Together, all the way.
Last 2 weeks ago, Duke 8-1, rolling right along in this college lacrosse season, ranked number 2 in the country, then went to Syracuse, choked a big second half lead, lost it overtime 9-8, followed that up with another road loss to North Carolina last week. So, Kark, I'll ask you, what's been the biggest problem for this Blue Devils team?
I think the Syracuse game when they were up 8-4, they're going to look back at that one, unexcusable that they lost that game. They completely dominated the Orange for 3.5 quarters. And then the game against North Carolina, you're 2 for 9 on the extra man, you're not shooting well, your 2 stars don't come to play in Robertson and Brad Smith. Brad Smith, 0-0 that game. So you get him back to his comfort zone and playing midfield. That's going to do a bunch of things. The second layer of that move is, Miles, Kai Montgomery now doesn't get a shorty. I mean, doesn't get a long pole. He's going to have a shorty on him because teams are going to go to Brad Smith as the #1 threat.
And here's Smith, a quick feed. Bouncer saved again by Zullo. You would not know that the junior's making his first career start. He's had a couple of terrific saves early. This is the second weekend in a row that Duke faces a goalie making their first career start, and he plays lights out.
Yeah, Caton Johnson from UNC last week, a freshman from the Philly area, made 21 saves, was amazing. First start. Jack Zullo, first start. Creating some issues for the shooters of Duke. And I've seen a bunch of low shots swallowed up by Zullo. How about stinging them high?
Costabile, that one goes off the shoulder of Upgren. Man, he can let it fly from anywhere. Let's stay with Notre Dame. Hey, what is his range, Cart? What would you say?
12 to 14 would be his range. I mean, he's got an absolute hammer. But if you press out too hard at him at 12, that's when he'll face dodge you and split you. So you got to be very well balanced in your defensive approach.
They go right back to Costabile. Why not? One of the hottest hands in all of lacrosse right now. Give and go with Jacobois. Tees it up. Not a clean look there. The Duke defense suffocating Notre Dame right now. Ball still on the grass. The Duke comes away with it. The senior Cade Van Raphorst quick to pick it up. Duke scored in the opening minute. Since then, the Blue Devils scoreless in the last 8. Brad Smith, double team comes over.
You can see with his plant foot and the way he's cutting, I think he's good to go, Miles.
It looks good. You know, he's able to move, make athletic movements, cut, stick his foot in the ground on his dodges, so he looks healthy.
You know, Jay, we were talking earlier about his health, off-season foot surgery. Was it the move to attack or was it the foot? I think he's primed to have a breakout game here at the midfield.
Risky pass there. Montgomery can't get to it. The Irish come away with it.
The one good thing about Notre Dame's defense is they half show to the Dodgers, so guys look open on the inside, but they're not really open. They collapse very quickly. It's kind of like appealing to the Dodger, but the Duke offense has to be very patient in their dodging and ability to feed inside there.
Miles, I'm curious. You played under Coach Danowski. When the team is struggling like they are now, what are the types of things that he asks of his guys in a game like this when you're trying to stop the bleeding?
You know, it's one of those things where Coach tries to recenter the team. You know, obviously struggling 0-2 in the conference, but I think the message is simple. You know, play for each other, play hard, and make the small plays, and those will obviously come together and make successful plays for the offense. But when a team is down 0-2, there's a sense of urgency that should be led by the seniors.
Looks like we had an offsides on the freshman Ledman. 50 in white. Big kid making plays as a freshman. I think his ceiling is super high down here in Durham.
Notre Dame failed to capitalize on that first extra man opportunity, trying to give themselves an early 2-goal lead. Bouncer didn't get it off cleanly at Upgren. Comfortable save.
I would like to see Notre Dame be a little more patient on their man up. Operating at 40%, I think that they should be take their time and get a good look instead of the first look.
It's a great point. Both times they shot it very early in the clock. Risky pass. Duke out of sync in the clearing game right now. Lucky that one still fell to Joe Robertson. But giving it right back. Griffin Westland claims it for Notre Dame. 4 turnovers in this first quarter for the Blue Devils. A team that's on a 2-game losing streak, both coming in the ACC, those losses. And now at home trying to find a remedy against Notre Dame. Turnovers, that won't help the confidence. Here's Connor Moore, and he's got a goal and an assist.
A lot of respect being paid to number 26 on Notre Dame, as number 7, Cade Van Raphorst, that's his matchup right now. The best player in the country at the midfield, being guarded by one of the best players in the country on defense.
Plenty of space for the freshman Quinn McCann, but he couldn't put it home. Battle for the ball once again won by Notre Dame. Those 50-50 balls have gone to the Irish today, but they give it right back.
I want to get into something now that Duke has the ball. Miles, it's always kind of brought up that dodging from the midfield against Notre Dame is different. Your 4 years playing against Notre Dame, what was the biggest challenge you had to face when you were dodging from the midfield against this defense?
It's understanding their defense. You know, they play in great shape. So when you dodge, things may look open, but they're not really open. You know, being patient is the key to, you know, beating this Notre Dame defense. You know, they're very, very strong. You know, they lead the country in a lot of stats when we look at defense. You know, they've had 14 consecutive years where one of their defensive players has won an All-American stat. So, you know, Coach Byrne has his guys bought in on a defensive end, and it's patience. You know, it's moving well, moving the ball when you need to. You know, trying to take advantage of them when they're half slid to the ball carrier.
Duke has 4 turnovers. They only have 4 shots. Not a great ratio, and another pass that's misfired. That's over and back. Can't do that.
Yeah,
after 60, you got to stay on your attacking side of the field.
It's hard to be patient because a lot of times you think you have that opportunity, Miles, against this Notre Dame defense, and like you said, it's not really there.
Especially with the shot clock, you know, it's hard to be patient versus, you know, the time you're allotted to play offense. You know, this is where this Notre Dame defense, you know, excels.
The shot clock has certainly helped this Irish team. It fits right into their system of we're going to make you take a lot of time to set up your offense.
Shot clock 50, game clock 40, last possession. Notre Dame will hold here, and they have the matchup too. So I'm holding the ball right here with Costabile. I'm going to the rack around anywhere between 18 and 12 seconds, so you get another opportunity in case you shoot it wide, get the backup. You don't want to hold it too long. You want a second opportunity.
10 seconds left in the quarter. Costabile goes to work. Over to Gleason. Lone senior on this attack. Goes right to the cage and scores!
Notre Dame goal scored by Ryan Brendan Gleason, and assistant.
We welcome those joining us on ESPNU. Those watching already on ESPN News just saw Brendan Gleason, the lone senior on this attack unit, put Notre Dame up by 2. It's a 3-0 run. Duke scored in the opening minute. And since then, Clark, it has been all Irish.
Well, the 2 stars of this Notre Dame team, Brian Costabile, 26 in blue, Gleason, 9 in blue. They are responsible for 37% of Notre Dame's goals, and the 2 are at it late in this first quarter. So much attention when 26 has the ball. So the early slide offered an opportunity for that guy right there, Gleason, to can it.
Charles Leonard and Notre Dame, they have not won a single face-off with 4 seconds left of this first quarter. It has not mattered. Duke may have been dominating in possession, but it's Notre Dame who takes a 2-goal lead into the second quarter. This Blue Devils team seems out of sorts right now. They've lost the last 2 games, both in ACC play. They come home looking for that remedy. You get that opening goal in the first minute, and then they've just struggled to maintain any sort of consistency on the offensive end.
Well, they've also ran into a hot goalie in Jack Zula, who's making his first start here in Durham. And he presents issues for opposing teams because of how much of the cage he takes up. Plays his angles beautifully. But Robertson got it going. The big question was, could Robertson and Smith, the 2 stars, be more responsible offensively? Well, it didn't matter, though, because Nick Stinn and the Irish had all the answers. And then late in this first quarter, the lefty Gleason, everyone plays him as a lefty, but he makes the Blue Devils pay with his offhand. 2-goal lead.
He's Paul Carcaterra. I'm Jay Alter. Miles Jones with us as well. Miles, I'm curious. You've been in that John Danowski huddle. on a 2-game losing streak, down 2 goals. What's being said to try and get this team back on track?
You know, the message is simple. Right now they're down 3-1. You know, they're winning all the face-offs, so they're getting the possessions. I think it's time for those guys to relax. Coach is going to talk about, you know, playing calm. And you know, getting a win here would be huge for the Blue Devils. I think just sense of urgency from the team, you know, laser focus from the guys, and I think that's what they need in order to pull out a win today against this tough Notre Dame team.
The biggest bright spot came at the face-off exit that first quarter for Duke. Blue Devils controlled it 4-1. The junior Brian Smith getting the better of Charles Leonard. As we are back underway in this second quarter, and Leonard comes away with it. It's a second quarter this season that has belonged to the Fighting Irish. They have outscored opponents 33-10, almost 34-10. Leonard, he whiffed on it. Got right in front of Upgren and just could not deliver the finish. Brad Smith making his return to midfield, where he was an All-American a year ago as a junior. Moved to attack, and Coach Zanowski's moved him back to where he's more comfortable in midfield. He's joined by Nakai Montgomery and the freshman Garrett Ledman. Number 50 in white, Ledman, Montgomery 15 in white.
Is it me, or do you guys smell like sausage and peppers?
I just got a whiff of the peppers.
Where is
We're going to need that at halftime.
I think it's down by the concession stand under the left side of the stands.
You're a legend at Duke. Get me some sausage and peppers. Let's go.
I'll see what strings I can pull here.
Miles, who spent pregame signing autographs to the Duke faithful, not too far removed from wearing the Blue Devils uniforms himself. Feed in front, and a goal! Sean Lowry, the senior, delivers. Coach Dino mixing it up, put Lowry on that starting attack unit, and he cashes in.
When you look at Sean Lowry, he's actually a natural attacker, so subbing him in from the midfield and then putting, you know, Brad Smith back in at midfield from the point position, I think it provides a tough matchup for the defense. They have to double pole the midfield in order to cover Montgomery and Brad Smith efficiently.
And you're not asking Lowry to be a tremendous playmaker. You're asking him to be opportunistic in spots because you have the playmakers around him in Brad Smith, in Nakai Montgomery. So find that roll off ball. And I think this move with Brad Smith back to the midfield makes all the sense in the world, because now, like you mentioned, Lowry goes back to his natural spot. It's win-win.
Duke went 15 minutes in between goals. They were scored right at the top of the game. And scoreless for the rest of that first quarter. The shove, so it'll go to the Irish here off the faceoff. Miles, Coach John Danowski telling us pregame that with Notre Dame, it's just so tough to get shots off. Possessions become more valuable against the Irish. What on defense can they do to make sure Notre Dame isn't getting the shots that they got in the first quarter? They had way more. They had 10 shots in that first quarter, more than double the Duke had.
Yeah, I think it comes from the defense, the way they're playing their midfielders. You see here, Brian Costabill gets to the middle of the field, which is a dangerous spot for the defense. The reason why they force you down the alley so it's easy for the defense to slide. They have one location. When they allow the midfielders to get to the middle of the field, it becomes dangerous.
That one just misses. Wide of Jack Zulo's cage, who's making his first career start.
I like the move by Joe Robertson. Instead of staying flat at that point spot, we saw a little aggressive hitch, got the defender to turn his hips, created more of an angle for his shot, and just barely missed that bottom corner.
Second line midfield on for Duke. Jake Seau, who's having a career year, 20 points. That's better than the 11 points he had in his first 3 seasons with Duke. And then Riley Walsh and Kevin Quigley on as well. Quigley going all the way. Did he get an angle? No. And a crease violation, Notre Dame ball.
Good defense late in that dodge by Jose Boyer, 46 in blue, just a freshman.
Timmy Phillips lost control. Gleason scoops it up to keep possession for the Irish.
JT's an animal.
Great athlete.
JT Giles Harris, 2 in white. Brother Joe getting ready for the NFL draft, was a linebacker for Duke. David Cutcliffe. I just love his motor, Miles.
This is Brendan Gleason. Told me yesterday he cherishes this leadership role, being the only senior on this front line for Notre Dame. A game against Duke on the road. He goes, this is why you go to a place like Notre Dame for games like today. Big Jacket boys. Tons of contact, puts it over, and that'll be Duke possession. Great hustle from the goalkeeper, Turner Upgren, to win it. Five seconds to get it across for Duke. Upgren might have to do it himself.
Yo, Jack, did you hear me tell you to go down this pipe?
Notre Dame has limited the opportunities Duke has had today. And yet, only down a goal. When you consider the 5 first quarter turnovers, this Duke team right in it.
This is what I talked about earlier. Brad Smith's playing midfield with Montgomery, who's accustomed to having a pole. Now he's dancing on a shorty.
Feeding off, and we're tied at 3. Sean Lowry again.
Sean Lowry does it again and scores for Duke.
It was a great feed from Nakai Montgomery, and Sean Lowry ties this game at 3, his second goal, and he came into the game with 3 on the year.
You want an opportunity on offense? Bring it on defense. Cade Van Rapport, 7 in white, the senior, lays the boom. And Montgomery, so much attention as a Dodger against a short stick. All the eyes of the Notre Dame defense are on 15 in white. Too easy, and look who cans it again, Miles.
And we talk about this in the dodge from Costabill. Getting to the middle of the field is so dangerous against defense. You have to then establish if you're going to slide from the crease or slide adjacent, which is both 2 places where the defense doesn't want to slide.
But Jay, I was mentioning it earlier too. With Brad Smith at midfield, the second layer is Montgomery against a shorty. That, to me, can determine the outcome of this ball game.
Notre Dame with their 4th straight face-off win. Can it lead to a goal? No, a save by Turner Upgren. Put it the one place where Upgren was there to make the save.
Nick Stinn. Change levels.
Absolutely. That's something you're told from the time you start playing lacrosse. If you're setting up tall, throw it by the goalie's feet. If your stick head is at your ankles, shoot it up high.
It's funny. 4 face-off wins of the game. First 4, Duke won. Notre Dame took a 3-1 lead. Now Notre Dame's won 4 face-offs in a row, and it's Duke who's on a 2-0 run. You almost don't want the face-off win early in this game. The defensive have been so strong. Here's Kevin Quigley. Junior's been moved to the second line midfield. Although right now playing on the first line with Brad Smith and Jake Sayow. Everybody mixing and matching right now. That time over the top, a flamethrower from Joe Robertson. Couldn't find the back of the net.
He nails that with the right hand. He's on the left side of the field. He's a natural righty. Not saying he doesn't have a good left hand, but that is a goal with his right hand.
Another save. Both goalies standing on their head today. Zullo tested again. This time he's beaten. Joe Robertson fires Duke back in front. It's a 3-0 Blue Devils run, and Duke finally churning offensively.
You're going to get opportunities if you're Notre Dame in some transition. Jose Boyer, the freshman, feeds senior Nick Stinn, and he does not capitalize on Turner Eckring. One off the head of Zullo, back to Robertson. I mentioned earlier, couldn't can it, lefty, delivers righty.
Robertson's second goal, he leads the team with 29. It's 23 straight games with a point in his Blue Devils career. Now, before their game, only a combined 3 goals, 3 assists in their last 2. They have stepped it up.
Robertson is so smooth in capitalizing off of poor approaches. He's not the type of dodger that beats you with like crazy speed or quickness, but his lacrosse IQ is off the charts. So he just finds those little seams in defenses. In a couple of his goals, we've seen defenders turn the back, poor approach. He capitalizes.
Now it's Notre Dame looking for an answer. They had a 3-1 lead headed into this second quarter, and it has been all Duke. It's a quarter that typically belongs to the Irish. Coming into the game, they've outscored opponents 33-10 in the second quarter. Struggling right now in Durham, though. "20 seconds left on the timer. Here's Connor Moore, dangerous from behind the cage at X, curling around, eyeing up his options, and it leads to a goal. Brian Willits, the equalizer, and we're tied at 4.
So this goal happens for one of 2 reasons. One, obviously, dodge behind the cage is very dynamic, but you look at Duke's defense ball watching, it allows the shooter to catch the ball, set his feet, stare down the goalie, and make a good shot.
This game has been back and forth. And Notre Dame has tied it at 4. 2 top 10 teams in the ACC. It's been living up to it. Blue Devils controlling the second quarter. Come back. We're tied at 4.
From these cities to these shores, got my seeds in the ground.
He's a special member of this Duke community. He played from 1999 to 2002 in the midfield, and his father established the Lead the Way Foundation in his name. Regan lost his life fighting for our country in 2007. A year later, the Lead the Way Foundation came about to support Army Rangers. You see Duke wearing that number 10 in their warm-up jerseys, the JR10 on the back of the helmets. He is an integral part of the fabric here at Duke and really the lacrosse community as a whole. And Jimmy's father told us pregame that they have a regiment that just got back from the Middle East, spent 3 months there, captured 1,900 ISIS fighters, and those are the men and women that this foundation goes to support. Miles, you played on the Lead the Way Day here at Duke. What does the foundation and Jimmy's legacy mean to this Blue Devils team?
Yeah, this day is very emotional for us. We know all the things that people go through in order to fight for our country and for our freedom. And Jimmy Regan being a Duke man and obviously being close to me, being a Long Island guy, there's no better day to suit up and wear that number 10 on the back of your helmet.
You mentioned Long Island, Jimmy from Manhasset, where 29 lives were lost in 9/11, and his father said that event motivated him to enlist after he was done with Duke, was scheduled to go to law school, put that on hold to trade the Duke uniform for our country's uniform, and lost his life in service, and he will never be forgotten here at Duke or at the lacrosse community.
I'll never forget your senior year, Miles, when Deemer Class put on a show on Jimmy Regan Day when he had 7 goals and 2 assists against Syracuse wearing Jimmy Regan's number 10. That was an amazing tribute by Deemer Class and your entire team.
And Duke takes the lead on Lead the Way Day. And it's Garen Ledman leading the way there, the freshman, with his first goal of the afternoon.
Joe Robertson typically gets assists in transition, broken situations, and not off of a settled dodge. But this time, his head is up. If you watch 8 and Blue, does a phenomenal job distributing the rock. Finding that Notre Dame, I think, slid too quickly. Robertson's on a short stick, so the entire Notre Dame defense is on red alert, feeling like they need to support. I think they went prematurely.
Ledman, a freshman who has really emerged in this Duke team. When they need firepower, the freshman has delivered.
What do you like about his upside?
Well, I like his size, and obviously his game IQ is very high. Right place, right time on that opportunity.
Comes by way of DeMatha, where he was the all-time points leader. That means something there. You've seen some studs come through DeMatha.
Paul Rabel, the Looney brothers, tons.
Flag on the field, so Duke with a free possession. Can they cash in? A flamethrower, back of the net! Brad Smith in his return to midfield, making it count for the Blue Devils.
It's a spot that he's very comfortable in, playing in front of the net, being able to see the net, being able to see the play develop. No surprise he cashed in there.
27.
When he was playing attack and even midfield at times last year, he plays the point on fast breaks, so he's accustomed to that spot. I was down here a few years ago doing an all-access piece on Duke, and Brad Smith had 2 buckets of balls just launching cannons from that same spot. Muscle memory, rip it out. You'll hit the back of the net. First team All-American a season ago. Look at the mustache there.
It's hideous. It really is. I'm trying to see through the helmet. It looks like he shaved it off.
It's a handlebar. It's like, police academy.
It's funny. Brad Smith, you mentioned it. All-American, All-ACC. That was in midfield. He's spent the entire year at attack, and boy, right back like riding a bike. I thought maybe there'd be a little bit of an adjustment, Miles, to get back in that midfield position. Not at all. He has been terrific.
When you think about it, this is what Coach recruited him to do. So, when he steps back into that role, it's back to what he's been doing for his entire career thus far. I'm sure he feels like natural there.
He's an athlete too. He knows how to compete. Great basketball player in high school. Played football. 3-sport star like you. Game day is game day. And when you play and you compete in other sports, you played 3 sports, the same 3 sports that Smith did. You like the lights, man. You like the challenge. All right, last 2 games didn't work out well. Well, guess what? I'm stepping up today.
Absolutely. When the lights are on, your athletic ability takes over, and he's used to playing and competing in different ways. You're learning easy for him to adapt to any situation that comes his way.
John Danowski takes a timeout to set up this man-up opportunity. The Blue Devils, they struggled on those extra man opportunities last week in North Carolina, only 2 of 9, so 41 seconds to make this one count and take a 3-goal lead. ESPN and the ACC will bring you the ACC Network this August. The conference's 15 championship-winning programs has a new home. August 2019, visit getaccn.com to learn more. We are all looking forward to that launching. Should be huge for the sport of lacrosse as well. See lacrosse on ACC Network frequently. And talking about the ACC, the conference has gone to a new format for their postseason tournament. In years past, only 4 teams would be able to get in. Now all 5 teams get in, and it's really big for Duke because you look at them coming into this game 0-2. This would be a must-win, with Virginia looming as that 4th game to get in to that first 4. Now it doesn't matter. All 5 teams will compete.
it's a good opportunity for the last place team. It gives you a chance to win a big tournament game and win the tournament in order to boost your resume when it comes time for Selection Sunday.
Yeah, that fifth team in the past was part of the weekend, but not part of the tournament. A lot of times you'd see an outside of conference team coming down and traveling and playing on a Friday night, whether it was Penn or Brown, and it's kind of anticlimactic for that fifth team. Now, you got a horse in the race.
Duke has dominated this second quarter on a 5-1 run, looking to add more on the man-up opportunity. Miles, what has changed in this second quarter for the Blue Devils?
Well, it looks like they're not winning many face-offs in the second quarter, but they're capitalizing on every opportunity they get. They're moving the ball, switching fields, allowing the offense to flow better. The defense looks like they're having a tough time for Notre Dame tracking the ball and tracking the open players when plays are broken or in transition.
Duke was 2 of 9 on man-up opportunities a week ago at Chapel Hill. I asked John Danowski, what's the remedy? He said, no remedy, just need to be better. Their first opportunity today to make it a 3-goal lead, which would be the largest for either team. Quick pass back, couldn't get the shot off. Joe Robertson was halted. Brad Smith now over to Garrett Ledman. Quick passing for the Blue Devils. The man up expires, so Notre Dame can go back to full strength. Irish defense so compact. Really tough to beat. Ledman trying to find some space. We're under 20 seconds to go on the shot clock.
Notre Dame's defense being so compact, it's easier for them to slide and recover because the distance from each guy is essentially smaller. So Duke has to spread them out and beat them from the outside with shots from 15 from Ledman, Brad Smith, and other guys.
Nowhere to breathe, and that's a turnover, shot clock violation.
That is awesome, awesome defense. 7 dudes that know their roles and their responsibility, all speaking the same language, and the timing of the slides was impeccable.
Also gives their goalie, who's starting their first game, an easier shot to look at and better situation in front of him.
Exactly, and that's why I said earlier, all you're asking for is 50% save percentage. And that's why I think that ultimately the move from Schmidt to Zullo happened. Schmidt's under 50%. You have a defense year in and year out over the last couple of decades. It's hard to find a defense that's been more consistent over the last 20 years than Notre Dame.
Here's Costabile. 30 seconds left on the shot clock. The most dangerous midfielder right now in the country. What does he have up his sleeve?
15.
Over to the lone senior, Brendan Gleason. Trying to find some space, had some, but put it on the ground looking for Quinn McCann, and that's a turnover. Costly one, too. Notre Dame has lost that rhythm that they had in the first quarter. This has been all Duke, a one-way freight train in the second quarter.
Both teams, though, have struggled in recent weeks playing with a lead. Duke against Syracuse a couple weeks ago. Notre Dame let Syracuse back in that game. Blue leads against Virginia.
Bouncer saved by Zullo. Kevin Quigley didn't get enough on it, and the junior read it really well.
Good job by the Notre Dame defense making that an easy shot for the first game starter to see. It's very easy to see a defender, a midfielder running full speed down the alley and taking a shot. It's easy for the goalie to read the stick of the head, and the defense is giving up easy shots for him to save.
That's what Notre Dame's always been great at, dodging midfielders, the north-south guys. You got to beat them with great dodging attack play, and you have to have some faith jamming the inside.
Costabile, oh, he had Connor Morin wide open, misplaced the pass. Everybody runs to number 26 in Navy, especially after his 5-goal performance last week against Syracuse. That time went for the pass and had Morin for what would have been a goal. Duke settles into another attack. Has the demeanor changed, Miles? You're a guy who played with a ton of swagger. You know, when you only scored 1 goal in the first quarter, have you noticed the body language change of this Duke team?
Yeah, I mean, it's very natural of any athlete, you know, struggling a little bit, you know, kind of shoulders down. But, you know, I think Coach Nasty does a good job preaching, you know, next play and, you know, next opportunity for these guys. So, you know, there's going to be a little bit of pep in their step going into this, you know, end of the second quarter.
Montgomery all the way to the rack for a goal. Nakai Montgomery gives Duke their largest lead of the day. 6 out of the 7 goals scored in this second quarter.
The king of the celly in college lacrosse, that's Nakai Montgomery. Down the stretch in the NCAA playoffs, 2018, when he was just a young freshman, a lot of his dodging came from these non-traditional midfield spots, starting up top, bringing guys low, and now the defense has to communicate and make a decision because the slide changes when a guy's up top and behind.
It's a very tough place to play defense as well. You know, obviously you can't push in the back. If the offensive player gets any advantage there, it has to be a slide across the crease, and, you know, the timing isn't always perfect there.
I love his style, Nakai Montgomery, the celebration. You're a man of style too. I know you have, like, how many pairs of shoes do you have?
We're close to 100.
Oh my goodness.
I love shoes too, but
100?
I'm not up near 100.
I've got this pair and that's it.
What about style-wise? You look at the field right now. Who's a guy on the field? Style and the way they carry themselves. You're like, all right, this guy's got some game.
Yeah, obviously I enjoy Brad Smith, you know, 6'3", 210, athletic. You know, Nakai Montgomery is also another guy who enjoys playing the game, which is what I enjoy most. When guys have fun playing sports, you know, sports, you know, it's a sport. You're supposed to have fun playing and enjoy being out there and enjoy being in the arena.
And Coach Janowski told us he thought his guys had lost that joy as Brad Smith puts one off the post. You know, do you feel like the fun has kind of breathed some life back into this Duke team?
I'm sure in practice they definitely competed, you know, day in and day out leading up to this game.
Miles, what do you pay for your haircut?
I'm in a $20, $25 range.
Yeah, so 30, 35.
$20 to get the Odell Beckham cut?
Well, it's a lot less hair you have to cut. You just only cut the sides.
True. Fair enough. Notre Dame needed that big time. Connor Morin, the sophomore, has been the go-to guy in this game, not just his second goal. And the Irish right back in it.
You know, last year there were moments in time where Gleason, Costabile, and Ryder Garnsey, there was so much weight on their shoulders to produce offensively. You have Costabile, you have Gleason this year, you have Jacobois, and you have Connor Morin, who adds another Dodger to the offense. And he's going to feast all day long against a short stick. He's an attackman, was one of the top 5 recruits in the nation a year ago, salivating when he gets the rock behind.
Much needed goal for the Irish. This has been a quarter to forget. That was their first goal in 13 minutes, and this is the most goals they've given up in an entire quarter this whole season. And yet, plus side, you're only down 2 goals. And you still got a minute to make it closer before halftime. Violation on Brian Smith, so Notre Dame has possession. Shot clock is off. They'll have the final 60 seconds if they want to hold for one. The officials talking to the Duke sideline. Looks like it's Blue Devils' ball. I heard the officials say he was absolutely offside. Let's see what they come up with here. It was Notre Dame who took a timeout. Should be Notre Dame possession with the timeout called. Was it Danowski who was saying he was offside, looking for maybe the ball back here?
Duke was looking for a reversal, it seemed.
Clark, Duke with a 2-goal lead. You said before the game, Joe Robertson, Brad Smith were the 2 guys to lean on, and Robertson, the sophomore, he's delivered in a big way.
Last year as a freshman, he burst onto the scene as a big-time righty goal scorer. Well, that's what he is. That's his calling card, and it It's in his DNA to find seams in a defense and make that last goal by Ledman as Robertson became a feeder in that spot on a settled situation. He saw the Notre Dame defense and the eyes all on him. Dish and destroy.
Last week down in Chapel Hill, Robertson took 9 shots. None of them found the back of the net.
We've all been there. What was your worst shooting day in your life? Don't lie. I'll tell you mine. It's embarrassing.
I think we played Loyola or somebody my senior year. I shot 1 for 13. Coach Caputo didn't let me live it down.
Alicia scored 1. I think I was 0 for 11 my senior year against Johns Hopkins.
We all have those days. But you know what? There's always practice next week, and you can always take more shots. As Coach Nowski always says, shoot to get hot, shoot to stay hot.
I like that.
You guys can go.
I mean, there's something to be said, Miles, about trying to shoot yourself out of a slump.
Yeah, I mean, it's reps. You know, obviously, if you miss, 9 shots in a game, you understand what you did wrong. You can go back and look at that, correct it throughout the week, take extra reps before and after practice, on off days, whatever you need in order to be successful next week.
And if you're competitive, you can't wait for that next opportunity. I remember after a bad game, like you wake up Sunday morning, you want it to be Saturday again to get back at it.
Notre Dame coming out of the timeout. Took a Duke deflection, so we'll stay with the Irish. It's a second quarter that's been dominated by the Blue Devils, outscoring Notre Dame 6-2. It's the most goals that Notre Dame has allowed in a quarter this entire season. And yet, with the shot clock off, the Irish can hold for 1, make it a 1-goal lead before halftime.
This is a carbon copy. Now, if you're Duke, are you confident in this matchup with Wells guarding him with a long call?
You have to be. It's your senior long stick midi, one of your best takeaway guys. You don't want to slide to him too quickly to create offense for Notre Dame.
But now look what he did. Switched off, now he's got a shorty. They're going to go super early here.
2 seconds left. Costabia looking inside, and Duke clings to a 2-goal lead here at halftime. A second quarter, Miles, that was dominated by Duke. What was your biggest takeaway?
Looks like they're starting to have fun. Guys are celebrating, having a good time. They've figured out this Notre Dame defense. It's very hard to play against them, being half slid and keeping their shape, throughout their defensive set.
Duke trying to snap a 2-game losing streak. Won't be easy. Number 17 in the country. Off to a hot start. They led early in this game, but Duke back on top, 7-5 lead. We'll be back. Carcaterra gives a haircut on the other side. Miles Jones, Paul Carcaterra, Jay Alter with you. Carc, what do you think the big difference, the game changer has been for Duke to take this lead?
I think it's putting their stars back in the right spots. For me, Brad Smith playing midfielder, he's a first-team All-American, one of the best in the country coming into the season, played attack up until today. I felt like he wasn't in his typical groove. Now he's back at his natural spot at midfield, and all the pieces around him now are starting to flourish. Guys like Nakai Montgomery, less attention, opening seams for him. I think he's been the difference in the first half.
Miles, Duke has led in both of the last 2 weeks in the second half, so just because they're leading doesn't mean they're going to win. What do the Blue Devils need to do in the second half to make sure they end this 2-game losing streak and see it through all the way?
I think they need to continue with the tempo they're playing at. Obviously, that not winning many faceoffs, but they're capitalizing when they get the ball. Getting the ball back into Brad Smith's stick, having Nakai Montgomery feel comfortable dodging against the short sticks, and all those pieces coming together is what's going to lead the Blue Devils to success.
One other thing to look at, gentlemen, both teams have blown leads in the past. Syracuse was able to come back against Duke when they were down 8-4 2 weeks ago. Notre Dame blew leads against Virginia and Ohio State late in that second half. So can either team, if they do get that cushion, if they're able to get the 4 or 5 goal cushion, can they close it out?
Face-offs were even, 7 apiece in that first half. Duke wins the face-off, but trying to keep it in play. They can't. It's Irish ball to start the second half, trailing by 2. And this matchup gives you everything you want and more. You have 2 coaches that have combined for more than 700 wins, 2 top 10 teams. The history of these 2 teams meeting not only in the regular season, but the postseason in title games. And it has been back and forth, a game of runs, and the last run gave Duke a 2-goal lead. Notre Dame starts with possession, though. Flag on the field. Costabile lets one rip.
It's going to be a late hit. Jacobois was entering the middle of the field on that sweep and got pounded late.
White, 6, 1 minute, cross check.
Pendergast with a cross check. Team's top short stick defensive midfielder. You know, John Danowski's telling him, you're a senior. You're better than that. That's a mental mistake. They're going to call that every single time.
Notre Dame 0 for 2 on extra man opportunities today.
Because of the attention of Costabile, 26 in blue, and Gleason, don't be surprised if 43 Westland or 18 Willits get an inside opportunity here.
It's Quinn McCann who's camping out inside right now for Notre Dame. He's dangerous on the extra man as well. 3 goals on the extra man this season. Westland, another freshman, so 2 freshmen on the field on this extra man unit for Notre Dame. There was McCann, couldn't finish. Went to shoot before it was in his cross. Knocked around with 20 seconds left in the man-up penalty, and Duke comes away with it and can kill it. Duke defensively has buckled down. They have changed this game. They have taken Notre Dame out of their offensive flow, and it's allowed the Blue Devils offense to blossom. 6 second quarter goals, and looking for more here. Brad Smith, the All-ACC and All-American midfielder a year ago, has played on attack all season long. That was up until today. Moved back to midfield. And he has felt his presence, a goal to his name, and just really has led this attack, even if it hasn't shown up with goals and assists. Here he is again. Passing off. And that's a hat trick. Sean Lowry, the senior, cashes in again. Came into the game with 3 goals, and he has 3 today.
Miles knows this better than anyone. All the shooting drills at Duke are predicated on finding better angles. And if you look at the patience in the 2 hitches here, Brad Smith on the first one as a feeder, jab step, gets to the middle of the field, and then Lowry creates by increasing his angle.
Yeah, you don't want to take a shot right away there. You want to increase your angle getting to the mouth of the goal, looking at the 6x6 completely.
Those are 2 guys that have played together for 4 years. The problem is this season they're rarely on the field together because Smith moves to attack, now back on the grass together, and boom. 3 goals for Lowry today, doubles his season total.
Looks like Van Raphorst left the box before possession, so Notre Dame gets the rock.
Clark, they've been out of sorts offensively. Who can they turn to here? Obviously, Costabile's the guy everyone talks about, but who else can step up and give them a spark here?
You know, I look at Costabile and Gleason. You know, that's the 2-headed monster, but I think Connor Morin, 22 in blue, who's behind the cage right now, he could be a big-time dodging threat for them and give them that 3rd option.
This is Wheaton Jacobois, the sophomore from Kansas City, Missouri. Coach Corrigan saying he's playing his best lacrosse of his career right now in these last 5 games. Costabile lost the handle. Triple team. Somehow kept it, and then it was ripped away. Cade Van Raphorst again. He has been everywhere.
think the defense for Duke, too, is playing with a sense of urgency from a physicality standpoint. We've seen Van Raphorst now deck a couple of guys from Notre Dame in this game.
And it's been that matchup with Costabile that he has dominated.
There's a lot of respect paid to Costabile. I think Coach Nowski understands how dynamic of a midfielder he is and putting his best cover guy on him throughout the game.
It's a good stop by Jack Zullo. I haven't seen too many high shots by Duke this afternoon, and the ability to get low from the big fella Zullo, pretty impressive.
Hey, who's on? Who's on? Come on! Come on! Not too
This is Kevin Quigley looking for some space, eyeing up his options. Went for a risky pass, looking for Joe Robertson, who was right in front of the cage, and it's a turnover.
We talk about this Notre Dame defense. I'm sure that play looked very appealing to number 12 on Duke. But the defense collapsed very quickly, as you see that very frequently when looking at Notre Dame's defense.
That's that little seam where you think you have an opening, but you don't, right? Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, sir.
Since those 3 first-quarter goals, Notre Dame has just struggled offensively. This Duke defense, highly touted as one of the best in the country, they have shown why in the second and third quarter. Think about it, the Irish really haven't even had that many opportunities you could think of. Here's Connor Morin. 2 goals to his name today. Seconds left on this shot clock. The Duke defense has been relentless. Another big hit. McNamara goes down. Terry Lindsay, the junior, laying the lumber. 5 seconds left. Gleason has to hurry. Does he recognize it? And with 1 second, puts it on cage. But an easy save for Turner Upgrade.
This Duke defense is bringing it.
That time it was Terry Lindsay, but Cade Van Raphorst, Peter Welsh, everybody getting in on it. And Coach Zanowski said, play to have fun. That's not just to the attackmen, right? That's to the defenders, too.
Oh, bring it.
Over the head of Brad Smith. He had plenty of space to wind up and fire.
Left side of your screen, JT Giles Harris. Smells blood. Lindsay delivers.
That's great defense on that pick play. Oftentimes unique. And that's what you see there with the good communication, good physical play, and a great result for the Duke Blue Devils.
Costabile lost the handle again. He has struggled outside of that first quarter. Duke's defense has clamped down on number 26 in navy and gold.
Who's on? Side left.
Notre Dame had those 10 shots in the first quarter where they dominated. Since then, just 6 shots. It is all Duke looking for more. Ledman. Here's Nikai Montgomery. He's got a goal to his name today. Lowry, the leading scorer, with 3 goals. He's doubled his season tally. This time passing off. Robertson. Right in front. Everything but the finish.
I'm watching this game from up top in the box, and it's evident to me that Jack Zullo as a bigger guy eats low shots.
He does. I think the Duke offense should then, change and adjust mid-game. Maybe shoot a couple of high bouncers or just shoot the ball high to high.
Or his hips, yeah.
He's shown and in many occasions that he's good at sliding to the ball, stepping hard to it, gobbling up those low shots.
Costabile just running around this Duke defense, looking for space, something that Notre Dame has not found frequently in this game. Here's Connor Moore, 2 out of the 5 Irish goals. That one goes wide of Turner Upgren's cage. 17 seconds left on the shot clock. Morin goes low, and Upgren's there to meet him. And now Duke can run.
Let's give Upgren some props, too. The 2 losses back-to-back weeks, Syracuse and North Carolina for Duke, those are his 2 best games of the season.
It's been the offense that has struggled in those back-to-back losses, but they have been fueled today by Brad Smith's return to the midfield.
And the stat sheet might not show crazy numbers for Smith, but what it shows me, Lowry getting 3 goals. That doesn't happen without that switch, because now Lowry goes to attack, opens up the offense.
And you've mentioned it before, but Nakai Montgomery getting that short stick where he's cashed in on. There's Jake Sayow. He's been quiet. He had to make way for Smith in that midfield. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Both teams have let it tick down. Duke with 10 seconds. Another opportunity. Great save. Jack Zulo there again for the stop.
So much for shooting at the hips. This guy is playing incredible.
He is keeping Notre Dame in this game. Now he needs his offense to try and provide something. And that's a clear violation. Have to do it in 20 seconds. Zulo hustles back to his cage. Duke trying to capitalize.
This is why I like big goalies for Notre Dame. They're so well schooled defensively, forcing weak angles. When you put a big dude like Zulo in the cage, he can eat space and make those saves just by being in the right spot technically, and your fundamentals as a goalie and hugging the pipe.
And as a shooter, big goalies taking up a lot of cage. You think a lot more when you shoot. Split second here, thinking about a location. There's a difference between scoring a goal and not.
Montgomery this time feeding. Robertson put it low, not enough on it. It stays with the Blue Devils. Here's Brad Smith. Over the Robertson. Quick passing. Ledman, a bullet to the back of the net. The freshman with some fire out of his stick. Garrett Ledman, largest lead of the afternoon for Duke.
Hammer it, young fellow. The goalies have brought their A game to Durham on a day where the sun is peeking through. Jack Zulo has been hard to solve for the Blue Devils. Well, Turner Upgren has been the answer as well. But don't tell Garrett Ledman that. The freshman strokes one. Duke up by 4.
Old Spice College Lacrosse is brought to you by Old Spice. Men have skin too, And Cigna. Together, all the way.
Clean win by Costabile. Charging toward the net. He scores! It is a storybook ending for the Duke seniors.
For the third time in 4 years, Duke ends Notre Dame's season. Start pitching the tents in Danowskiville. There's a new dynasty at Duke.
You want to put gasoline on a rivalry? Meet in big games like that, right?
Unreal. Started in 2010 in terms of this rivalry peaking at a different level. And you played in a bunch of these big Notre Dame Duke games. What's different when you play the Irish as opposed to everyone else?
It's a full 60-minute affair. You know, they're very good on defense. You know, it's going to be one of those games where the team that is mentally strong and capable of coming back from mistakes, because there are going to be a lot of mistakes, especially on the offensive end, for Duke playing against this Notre Dame defense in terms of, you know, the way they play, trying to figure out, you know, how to beat them in early offense, and for Notre Dame figuring out how to, you know, beat this, you know, tough, very physical Duke Blue Devil team.
Yeah, and for me, when you're playing Notre Dame and you have a lead, like a 4-goal lead, like this scenario, expect a lot of pressure in the full field now. Kevin Corrigan will throw in a 10-man ride, he'll pressure in weird spots, and really put you in an uncomfortable situation in terms of the way you carry the ball.
Especially on the face-off, I think that's an opportune time for Notre Dame to put some pressure on the guys while they have another defensive personnel and face-off man on the field.
He's Miles Jones, also alongside Paul Carcaterra. I'm Jay Alter. Duke down 3-1 in that first quarter. They have stormed back. Notre Dame's only got 2 goals to their name. Meanwhile, Duke has added 8 in the second and third quarter combined. The Blue Devils team trying to snap a 2-game losing streak. Both of those games on the road in conference play, now back home. And after a slow start in that first quarter, Miles, this team starting to look like Duke again.
Understanding the defense and where they're playing them, obviously, to know that, you know, this defense is very good. It's not going to be, you know, one dodge and pass inside. It's going to be moving the ball, making the defense spin, making them communicate with each other in order to make mistakes.
Swim dodge through the double team. Somehow Riley Walsh kept it in his stick.
Got to beat 7 guys when you're playing against Notre Dame.
Sean Lowry, 3 goals, which is a season high. Came into the game with 3 goals, and he's doubled his talent. 3 seconds on the shot clock. Have to hurry. 1 second on the timer, and it's another shot clock violation. This defense for Notre Dame, keeping the Irish in the game.
Look, they're swarming and suffocating the inside. Duke's had a few opportunities, but late in shot clock scenarios, they've been at their best. And this is a team I think has some young, bright guys defensively. Guys like Arden Cohn, who's only a sophomore, Jose Boyer, just a freshman. But they don't have that Matt Landis. They don't have the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year playing defense. But they have the 7 pieces that all communicate and know their responsibility. But make no mistake about it, Duke's been really good dissecting this defense, but not late in possessions.
And Duke's defense has been equally tough. Both of these teams taking it late into the shot clock and struggling to score. Costabile put a lot on it, couldn't find the back of the net. He's been quiet, 0-goal performance for Brian Costabile after he had 5 against Syracuse a week ago.
I see that in your game a lot where you get that high step-down shot. What's going through your mind when you catch that ball? Right here at Costabile.
It's actually the best spot, I think, on the field for a right-handed player, because if you catch the ball there with time and room, that's obviously an easier shot to hammer. But possessing such a big shot, a lot of people are going to sprint out full speed at you, and it's an easy chance to either, you know, go hitch to the middle of the field, which is obviously the best place to shoot, and down the alley in order to score a goal.
A hat trick on the day for Connor Morin. Much needed for Notre Dame. And the sophomore has half of the Irish's goals this afternoon.
I mentioned earlier, you have Costabile, you have Gleason. He's the 3rd Dodger in this offense, I think, from a consistency standpoint that could make some plays. I was really impressed with his ability to shake guys from X. When I called the Maryland game earlier in the season, this is a big-time player who just needs the confidence. You put a shorty on him, you're going to pay.
Let's go, boys.
So let's watch here on this face-off. If Duke wins this face-off, what does Notre Dame do to make it hard for Duke to get the possession?
Nothing. Got a clean look. Great save by Zullo, but Duke keeps it alive. Joe Robertson, he had plenty of time and space to put one home.
When you win the face-off out front, all of the plans for Notre Dame, throw them out the window. It's when you win it out back, then you have to adjust to all that pressure.
15 seconds left in the third quarter.
You like this matchup?
Of course. You want your more dynamic Dodgers against a short stick.
The feed from Montgomery. It's another goal with 3 seconds left in the third. Joe Robertson.
I think the combination of these two are going to be really big for Duke down in a couple years. 15 and white, dynamic Dodger, understanding the game. The defense is slowing down for him. The game's slowing down for him. He's able to see what's going on in front of him. Guys are working off of his dodge down low. Joe Robertson, the beneficiary on that play.
Let me ask you this. Brad Smith is playing attack. Do you think Nakai Montgomery's ever getting a shorty?
No. I think the other team respects his dodging ability enough to cover him with a long stick. And even if Brad Smith is playing on the same midfield line, I would even double hold their midfielders.
Then you'd short Lowry down at attack. But that's hard to do sometimes.
Especially the way they're doing it. Brad Smith's playing attack on the face-off, so the long stick is guarding them. And
Good point.
And the Duke Blue Devils are subbing in their third attackman and allowing Brad Smith to move to midfield.
I think the scariest part is, and Miles, great point by you, those two are sophomores. And that is scary for the rest of the college lacrosse landscape because they do not play like sophomores. Duke controls this game headed to the fourth quarter. Blue Devils trying to put a stop to a 2-game losing streak. Can they close it out in the fourth? We'll find out on the other side. You're watching Old Spice College Lacrosse as we welcome you back to Durham. Fourth quarter action, where the Duke Blue Devils lead in our top 10 ACC matchup 10-6. Started off slow, Clark, 3-1. Notre Dame was in control of this game, and then Duke in the second quarter stole it from them. Blue Devils have not looked back.
Sean Lowry, coming into today, had 3 goals. He scored 3 today. They had him running midfield, a position that he typically isn't accustomed to. He was an attackman, as you know, Miles. Brad Smith, a midfielder playing attack. I feel like they pulled the onions, the layers of the onions, off this offense, and now everyone seems to be playing their role and flourishing. Putting up 10 against Notre Dame is not easy.
And they've done it in 3 quarters. Charles Leonard trying to give a spark right off the face-off. Could not cash in, and it's Duke possession. Now, this is a Duke team that has led in the fourth quarter each of the last 2 weeks, but they've let those 2 games slip away.
Guess what? Notre Dame's done that too. Consecutive weeks against Virginia and then Ohio State, 2 losses. So I'm not sure either team is comfortable playing with a lead.
Miles, if you're Duke, how do you go about protecting this 4-goal lead in the fourth quarter?
It's playing smart. The opportunities are going to present themselves. It's not always taking the first opportunity. It's taking the best opportunity, and that may come in the first 10 seconds of the possession, but more often than not, it's going to come in the bottom 20 seconds where the defense is worn down. They're making mistakes.
Brad Smith, the senior, welcome back to becoming a midfielder. Had played attack this entire season, moved back to midfield today. Takes the defense all the way right and cashes in left.
When you take a look at this, we see a lot of the midfield production coming from this middle of the field. Looking at the entire 6x6 is very important when you're a shooter, and it gives the goalie more time to look at you, but you have more cage to look at. Brad Smith, senior, All-American, stepping up for his team when he needs to.
You know what I loved about that move? When he came out of his roll lefty, about 2 strides in, he gave a stutter step. So the defender was playing the roll, caught up to Smith off of that change of direction in the roll, and then he gave it that little stutter step, smoked him.
The largest lead of the afternoon for Duke, a 5-goal advantage, 11-6. Still plenty of time for Notre Dame. 14 minutes left in regulation, but when you consider the Irish, they've only had 3 goals combined in the second and third quarter after having 3 in the first. This offense needs to get out of its funk and quickly. There are 2 leaders, Brendan Gleeson and Brian Costabile, but combined 1 goal today.
Yeah, that's a duo that accounts for 37% of the Notre Dame goals.
Here's Jacobois fighting fearlessly through the Duke defense. Got a shot, but it was turned away.
I think Notre Dame would like to see more from Jacobois. He has 3 points in the last 5 games he's played for Notre Dame.
Another great opportunity fell out of the back of the stick of Brian Willits.
I love this guy. Pendergast does not get the credit that a lot of other players at Duke get because he doesn't have the stats. But if you look at all the dirty plays that he makes, that is a phenomenal play. To get that ground ball on the defensive end, use the jets, punt return it, handle the pressure, and give your team the ball when you're up by 5 in the fourth quarter, that is a monster play.
Here's Seau, goes low. Got a piece of the goalie, got a piece of the pipe, and Duke resets quickly, looking for more. Seau again, having a career year in his final year in a Duke uniform.
This is a smart play. Duke just took a shot. Shot clock resets. Instead of rushing it, he pulls it out and lets the time run. Time is on Duke's side here.
Notre Dame chases it down. Jack Keelty launching into a Notre Dame attack.
Talked about Pendergast making plays. Keelty too. 27 ground balls coming into today. All over the loose change on the defensive end. Rangy kid too. And I did that hair cutting segment with Costabile earlier in the season. A few weeks back, Keelty was in the locker room. That guy's like doing your workouts. He's absolutely jacked.
I think I might have saw him in the hotel.
Monster, right?
He's a big boy, for sure.
Jacked.
This is Nick Stinn. He has a goal to his name today. Who will step up offensively for Notre Dame? They need somebody trailing by 5, and the offense has just lost its flow in this second half. Only 1 goal in that third quarter, and right now scoreless in the fourth quarter. And everybody says, you know, with JT Giles Harris and Cade Van Rappelers, Duke's defense is the toughest in the country. You are seeing why. Giles Harris, relentless tic-tac-toe passing. No toe, though, no finish. And now Duke can run. Net in the midfield. Physical battle emerging, and Peter Welsh, the 5th year, has it.
So now Smith has the short stick. Long pole goes on Montgomery. I burn some clock here, and I let 27 do some work later in this possession.
Smith wants it on the far side of the field.
Another dangerous matchup here.
Yeah, they got the switch. Now Montgomery's dancing.
Look at how Notre Dame is halfway slid to the ball. This is what the Duke team has to figure out how to play against. Move the ball quick.
There's Smith, and there's the goal! Right on cue, Brad Smith completes his hat trick, and Duke is doubling up Notre Dame in this fourth quarter.
Miles, you called it. Recognize the quick slide. This is absolutely gorgeous offense. Montgomery is maturing before our eyes. Recognizes Keelty 10 is showing already. You got to get rid of that ball ASAP. And then the quick skip pass to Smith on the backside. If you want to break down a defense that is supporting, the timing of your passes has to be perfect. You could not draw that up better.
The senior has returned to the position where he feels most comfortable, an All-American and All-ACC player at midfield a year ago. Had to move to attack out of necessity, and he is back. And for him and Lowry to have hat tricks today, that's 6 extra goals that you didn't have last week with those guys out of position. Leonard looking for an answer, denied again by Upgren. This is the largest deficit of the season for Notre Dame, and Duke looking to pour it on more in this fourth quarter. Did you get the sense, Clark, that Notre Dame just trying to get it all back at once on the offensive end, taking them out of their flow?
Well, I think you have to take into account how good JT Giles-Harris has been on Gleason. I mean, Gleason is their top scorer and has done essentially nothing outside of the first quarter. He's the guy kind of that quarterbacks that offense. And there's been nothing coming from him in the last 3 quarters.
Shot clock resets after that bounces off Zula. And John Danowski takes a timeout. You know, he was looking for his team to have more fun this week after back-to-back losses. Well, the fun has come, and so have the goals. Duke doubling up Notre Dame, 12-6 in the fourth. Notre Dame with only 1 second-half goal. It has been all Duke. Blue Devils trying to snap that 2-game losing streak. And let's see who had their skin in the game today. Brought to you by Old Spice.
Ball rotation. Sean Lowry gets the hat trick. 3 goals coming into the game for the entire season. He matches it. How about Montgomery's ability to feed, too? I think he's been spectacular in terms of initiating offense. We don't count hockey assists in lacrosse, but Montgomery would have a bunch of those as well. And then Smith's presence. You know, we've been talking a lot about his move back to midfield. I don't blame the Duke coaching staff for putting him at attack in the beginning of the season. You lost Justin Gutterding. He's the all-time leading goal scorer in Division I history. He's a 4-year starter. He's a senior. You want a calming presence back there. Smith's a senior. He's the leader of the offense. You want that guy on the field for 60 minutes. But you know what? At the end of the day, it took some growing pains to figure it out. And once again, no one's going to want to play Duke come May.
If they're playing like this, I mean, Notre Dame, one of the best defenses in the country coming in. And Miles, this Duke offense with Smith back in midfield and Lowry at attack has rolled right by him.
I think everybody in their comfortable positions allows this team to play to the best of their ability. You know, I think, Coach was talking about that fun piece. I think maybe the guys were thinking about too much of playing different positions and they weren't able to just go out there and just do the things that they're used to. That
is an awesome point, because when you're out of your comfort zone, you're thinking about the schemes, you're thinking about your progressions rather than just playing.
This is Joey Manown. We haven't seen a lot of the junior today. Goes low, and that'll reset the shot clock. Staying with Duke possession. Coach John Danowski, it hasn't just been that straight swap Smith for Lowry. He's experimented with both the attack and the midfield today, mixing and matching, seeing what works best. And you could argue those 2 losses to Syracuse and North Carolina the last 2 weeks could be the best thing that happens to Duke, because he wouldn't have experimented at all if this team was 10-1 right now instead of 8-3.
Absolutely. I think sometimes a loss will take you back to the drawing board. And I think the way that the offense has been playing, switching guys in and out, has been tough for Notre Dame to then game plan against.
And how much do we want to dive super deep into those 2 losses? The Syracuse loss, you're up 8-4. Never should have lost that game. Never. It's like the middle of the fourth quarter. You blew that one. Last week, You ran into a freshman goalie in Caton Johnson who had 21 saves, and in the first half against Virginia today, he's standing on his head again.
Last 2 games in the fourth quarter, Duke combined for 2 goals today. They already have 2. Make it 3 right on cue. The Blue Devils add another to their tally, and this time it's C.J. Carpenter.
Taking a look at this play, you have Brad Smith, athletic, understanding the game, sees the way the defense rotates, finds C.J. Carpenter, dead center of the cage, the best place to shoot when on the field. C.J. cans that shot. Goal for the Blue Devils.
Where's the softest spot? Farthest away from the ball. The flip side to that, not an easy pass. Smith has got tremendous game and balance that he's able to make that pass.
Understand the score and the time. Notre Dame, a great team at applying pressure off the face-off. Win the ball back, expect a 10-man ride from the Fighting Irish.
You know what I've noticed too, gents, is Zulo, who was really good for like 3 quarters, the onslaught kind of wore on him. A couple shots I thought he would have been on, that one and Smith's lefty goal too. Those low shots that he was eating up the entire afternoon, not now.
You got to see adrenaline too, right? First career start, you come out, make a couple of saves, and now you faced, you said, an onslaught of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, how many uppercuts can you take, right? You get the guy against the ropes in the early rounds, you know, he might be able to respond. You keep pounding him, it's only a matter of time.
Miles, we talked a lot about the attack and the moves on the offensive end that Duke has made, but the defense today, another goal. Wow, Carpenter again back-to-back. But the defense being so good has allowed this offense to thrive.
Absolutely. You find momentum shift from both sides of the field. You know, your offense is playing well, your defense plays a little more confidence. Your defense playing well, your offense feels, you know, a little more confident to make plays. And the Duke Blue Devils are all over the field today on both ends.
When they break down the film, one of the highlights of this game is the fact that Nakai Montgomery has been amazing initiating and distributing the ball. I feel like all of the great offensive plays for Duke this afternoon, at some point in time in that possession, 15 and White had the ball.
Yeah, Coach Caputo's going to be happy about this. He calls this the party starter. You know, he starts the party, he gets the defense rotating, moves the ball, and allows the rest of his teammates to play in open space against body movement and body
party
recovery.
Starter, I like that. Everyone wants to be the party starter.
Absolutely.
Rugby scrum. This is where Duke has emerged with a lot of 50-50 balls today. Notre Dame picks up this one, though.
Dangerous pass.
And JT Giles Harris all over it.
He's been everywhere. Defensively, an absolute beast this afternoon. 2 and White just hunting him down, too. Late in the fourth quarter, you have an 8-goal lead. You just see his approach. He will not take one play off.
I think that was definitely the message this week for the Blue Devils, you know, playing that full 60 minutes after that Syracuse loss a couple weekends ago.
Brian Costabile has been scoreless in this game. Gleason only with 1. Denied again. You know, those two have been shut down. That has not been a good recipe. The one guy who's been the bright spot all day, Connor Morin. He adds his 4th goal. He has 4 out of the Irish's 7. He's been the only offense today.
Big goal line extended awareness and confidence to go to the rack. 22's jump from freshman year where he was basically a complete non-factor and didn't get any significant time. His sophomore season, he comes back, and down the stretch, if Notre Dame is going to make a run in the ACC and the NCAA tournament, Connor Morin will have to be a significant dodging threat because teams are focusing on Costabile and Gleason, and they've combined for 1 goal. Well, 22's answered. The question now is, who's the next guy? Is it Jacobois? Is it a guy like Westland? They need other guys to step up. Quinn McCann, you need other guys. It can't be a two-horse type of show here.
Gleason fighting off Giles Harris, draws a foul. Giles Harris is just stuck to Gleason like glue today. Go back to Moore, and he's either got a goal or assist on 6 of the 7 goals Notre Dame has. Costabile gets his first goal. Had been quiet all game, and after having 5 goals last week against Syracuse, it takes all the way to the 4th quarter to notch his first of the afternoon.
And this is a great move. When you look at the patience from Costabile, trying to get underneath, pulling back, trying to get underneath again, understanding the body language of his defender. You see him on attack now. I think they want their best player on the field at all times. But, this is a great move. Understanding the way the defense is playing him, allowing him to get back to the top side and capitalizing on some space there.
That 5-goal performance a week ago. And now, most likely going to get a loss here on the road against Duke. Now there is a 60-second man up for Notre Dame with 3:45 to go though, down 6. Just they dug themselves too deep of a hole. Costabile comes down with the jump ball. Gives it right back to Duke. Here's Terry Lindsay. Imagine the Blue Devils will slow this down. Miles, you played for John Danowski. When the calendar turns right to April, everybody says that's when he and his teams play the best. Why is that?
Coach Danowski understands that, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's a journey. It's a marathon. We'll take a couple, losses early, but, I think there's a maturation of all the players that play under Coach Danowski. And I think coming together and that total buy-in is a difference that happens when you see, an early February and March loss, and then to an April and May success.
And here we are again, back-to-back losses to end March. The calendar turns, and you have a Duke vintage performance like this, where they put 14 goals on Notre Dame, the most the Irish have allowed all season.
We're going to get Manown with a push with possession for 30.
We've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in this game. If you're looking for Rutgers Johns Hopkins, that has started on ESPN News, and we'll send it right over the Baltimore when we're done with this one.
That's a huge game in the Big Ten. I did Rutgers last week against Ohio State, who was undefeated going into that game. And I was so impressed with Max Edelman in the cage for Rutgers. News in the offseason when he got a 6th year of eligibility back from the NCAA. And defensively, they have some mature guys, and Kieran Mullins is one of the most underrated offensive players in the country. So Johns Hopkins will have their hands full. Hopkins coming off a big win against Michigan, so it's the time of the year where it's conference play. And Miles better than anyone. When it's conference play, that's when the calendar's turning. That's when everyone's attention's at a different level.
Yeah, all the previous games go out the window when it comes to conference play. If you can win your conference tournament in the regular season and then in the actual tournament, that's a big statement for you going into Selection Sunday if your team is fortunate enough to be in that conversation.
Another timeout taken by John Danowski. Let's turn to Notre Dame for a second. It's been a lot about Duke today. Very impressive performance to break a 2-game losing streak. Notre Dame 2 minutes away from falling to 5-4, 1-2 in the ACC. Clark, what's the outlook of this Fighting Irish team?
Well, they got some pretty good wins in their pocket, right? They beat Maryland, they beat Denver, they beat Syracuse. So come Selection Sunday, that day that you were mentioning, Miles, they have street cred. You don't want to finish 5th in the ACC in the basement. But if Notre Dame is in a situation, as we look at their upcoming schedule, Marquette, they could be a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde and beat anyone nationally, and then sometimes lose games that will make your head scratch. The Cornell game, that's a new one, and I think that's going to be a monster game. North Carolina, obviously, but Cornell replaces Army on their schedule just because of the way the ACC tournament was and how they've changed the scheduling in terms of the timing in April. That game, to me, if Notre Dame beats Cornell, they have huge wins in their pocket. And then the ACC tournament isn't like live or die.
2 minutes away from Rutgers and Johns Hopkins. Paul, you touched on it briefly, but let's take a deeper dive into this Big Ten matchup. And you talk about the ACC and the Big Ten, two loaded conferences yet again. What do you look for here?
Well, Edelman's over 60% on the season. He's standing on his head. Joey Epstein is the top-rated recruit coming into his freshman season, and he's answered the bell. I think he's a dynamic Dodger from behind. I love his assertiveness and to kind of take the reins, the quarterback spot for Hopkins. And Shara Lambides, to me, this is one of the best stories in college lacrosse. In 2016, he's the Big Ten Rookie of the Year. Blows his knee out right before 2017. Blows his knee out again right before 2018. Now he's back playing big-time ball.
Montgomery showing off the speed. Almost too quick. He lost the handle. It's a great point on Notre Dame, though, Kark. Don't look at the record and say 5-4, Notre Dame's no good. You look at the four teams they've lost to and the teams that they've beaten. You know, Maryland, Denver, Syracuse. Those are 3 top 10 wins you have.
Yeah, I mean, you beat Cornell. I mean, how are you going to be held out of the tournament with a winning record with 4 monster wins, all top 20 wins?
And no bad losses, really. I mean, the Richmond won early, but we saw Duke lose the high point, Virginia lose the high point. Everyone has that early season hiccup. Other than that, all the other losses are ranked teams.
Ledman, and he's a big boy. I know you like big midfielders.
Nothing more than I enjoy than big midfield play.
If you were to sit down with 50 White and give him some knowledge, what would you tell him freshman year based on your career?
Well, you know, there's many things that you can work on from year to year. Like from my standpoint, you know, I was a freshman. I was predominantly a right-handed Dodger. But then, you know, my sophomore year, I wanted to try to do things to complete my game. So I was working on my left hand. So I was trying to, you know, score shots on the run, both hands. My junior year, I wanted to be a better passer. And then, you know, my senior year, I wanted to be a better leader. So my advice to a young guy like that would just continue to evolve your game and sit down and be real with yourself about the things you need to improve.
Yep. Where are you now? Where do you want to be?
Exactly.
Well, after back-to-back ACC losses, some would say the sky was falling here in Durham. Well, we are here to tell you sky is perfectly fine. Almost another goal there to put the cherry on top. But this Duke team shakes off back-to-back losses, and they have looked every bit as one of the best teams in the country today against Notre Dame.
8-3. It's the end of the world, right? Come on. Got John Danowski. This guy's figured out the journey good, if not better, than anyone who's coached this sport. So don't bet against Duke. Definitely don't bet against Duke in April and May. Unless you need your head checked.
Nine seconds away from 9-3. It was a first quarter where Notre Dame jumped in front 3-1. And since then, it has been all Blue Devils. The calendar turns to April, and Duke lays 14 on Notre Dame. The Blue Devils go into an ACC top 10 matchup that emerged victorious 14-8.